Welcome to CWS, Christian Writing and Speaking. I'm your host, Jacqui Wilson. And in today's special episode, we have three extraordinary guests. We have Glenn Hunter, author, business educator, and entrepreneur. We have Shaterial Starnes, financial coach, owner of the Starnes Group, which provides financial literacy services. And also, she is one half of Hustle to Business University. Our final guest is Masheka Turner. She is a real estate investor, owner of BrightSkies Business Services, and she is the other half of Hustle to Business University. Welcome, guys. I'm so happy and excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having us,
much,
Jacqui. We're excited.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we brought these three together because they are part of the upcoming summit, Level Up, Launching to Your Purpose. And today we're going to talk about the importance of the types of subjects that we're going to discuss at the summit. And one of the things that I want to talk about is how important it is to have the right strategies, not only in business, but in ministry and in other endeavors that you pursue. So one of the things that we're talking about at the summit is knowing who your audience is as you go out to fulfill your purpose. Glenn, can you tell us a little bit more about how you feel about that subject?
Well, when I think about who my audience is, I want to be very intentional with the different businesses I'm involved in. There's significant overlap, but there are some distinctions. So from a writing perspective, I'm looking for progressive-minded people. I definitely want a Christian audience, but I'm not here to preach to the converted. So, with that in mind, one of my books, A Word from the Voice, which is behind me, I'm very intentional about making it very tangible that the church has a significant presence. And that's how I like to conduct my business. I want to be very tangible, but don't lose track of the fact that I'm a Christian.
What about you, Shaterial?
For me, in terms of knowing your audience, I look at it from this perspective, Jacqui, like you can be almost looking to the left or marketing in the wrong areas. And as a result, your audience might be to the right. And let me give you an example of that. Initially, when I started my business, my business was around credit repair. And people are very apprehensive about credit repair. There's a lot of mistrust. There is a lot of, people are reactive. A lot of times people do not want to start working on their credit until they want something. Like I want a house, I want a home, or I'm getting ready to get married. So I don't want to, just different things like that. So initially that's how I built my business. And I felt like an ambulance chaser. So I was marketing to a specific group of people. And then I'll be very perfectly honest with you. I almost gave up on the business because out of my frustration. So I start praying like, Lord, what can I do differently to still be able to help people, serve people, and do something that I'm passionate about? And I felt like the Holy Spirit led me to start moving a different direction. So as a result of that and praying, my business changed, my business model. So now I market to businesses, not for profit specifically. And I write proposals to them. And as a result, they pay me to come in and teach financial literacy classes to their clients. So I'm B2B, business to business. They are my clients. And in turn, they provide the services to their clients for free. So I'm still accomplishing the same goal. And I'm telling you, it has been transformative just by my marketing or looking at things differently.
Yeah. And Masheka, you and Shaterial both work on Hustle to Business. How does that translate to the churches and ministry work?
So, so now let me just say this. A lot of times I don't really phase it or phrase it the church and ministry work. A lot of times the way Shaterial and our approach is we just let our light shine. And of course, and a lot of times in Hustle to Business, we do talk about God and our spirituality, but that's not the leader. The leader is, we are here to give you some resources and help you scale your business. We happen to be Christians and we're letting our light shine through that, but that's not the leader.
And would you agree that these gifts that you have, this ability to give people this information in a way that they understand, and that is from God, that you have that ability to do that?
Absolutely. So the whole thing came from God. So just to go a little bit into it, my day business is BrightSkies Business Services. We are CFO, controller, bookkeeping, profit strategy, and we use all of that, profit strategy, cash management, with bookkeeping as a foundation. So what was happening was there was a lot of grants and things given, and a lot of people that had been in business for a while were not getting it because there was just so many little things that were not done, little things that eventually end up to big things as years pass. And so I was getting so many calls, and I was getting very frustrated because one of the reasons why we get into business is we want to serve people, but these businesses also need to serve us. Yes. And so if we're in business and we have all these tax problems, we have all these legal issues, it's not doing that. So I started thinking about what is a way that we can help people on the front end before they get 3, 4, 5 years in. And literally, I just started thinking, what is a way that I can do this that makes sense? And I know that it's God, because I was literally in my bed one day and I woke up with, why don't you start some kind of group? That way it makes sense for you and them. And BrightSkies, you can't be talking on the phone and dealing with people all day that's not in a position to work with you. But what is a way that you can give it to a lot of people at one time? That makes sense. And it literally, God gave it to me. I woke up with it. And of course, I thank God for Shaterial, because she was able to help me take it to another level. Because a lot of times I'll get the vision, but a lot of times the steps to make it come to pass, that ain't me. Because even in my day business, it's been a lot of people to help this vision come to pass. But it was God. And I believe this is my purpose. And so that's why when I'm talking about business, I'm always talking about a business that serves you, because I've known people over the years that have committed suicide because of the legal and tax issues. I've known people to just really not have a blessed life. And I believe that God has called me to serve people in this area. And the reason why I believe it is because I can do it all day long for free. My cable bill won't let me do that, but I can't even explain it. I can be having a terrible day. Somebody comes in my office and we start talking about profit strategy. My voice changes. I feel uplifted. And so I believe that that is the zone of genius that God has given me.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we want to be able to share with people is, we want everybody to be able to walk in their purpose, because that's where they really shine. And a lot of times, though, they don't think these types of strategies or services work for them. But Glenn, you've worked in business and you've taught in business for a long time. How is it that something that is in the business world can help people, let's say, use the word launch into their purpose? Because a lot of times, especially if you are in Christian ministry or in the church, you can't see how those strategies can actually help you.
I think the word that comes to mind immediately when you talk about having that business presence and then that launch presence where you're getting out into and actually dealing with people is relationship. I think there's a sense of authenticity you have to be successful in business. You think about our titans of industry. We know who they are. We read about them. They go into rockets and things like that. That's who they are. That's not what they do. But I think that also comes all the way down to entrepreneurs who are getting, dirt under their fingernails. That's who they are. They solve problems. They help people. I have an issue with fill in the blank. I know that's not what you do, but if it's within your skill set, you deliver with excellence. And consequently, now all of a sudden that enhances your reputation, not to be an entrepreneur of X, but a problem solver that makes people's lives more robust. And consequently, it makes our income statements more robust. We're delivering service or products for profit, and everyone leaves feeling good about their contribution.
Yeah, I think there is, for me personally, there's been a certain joy in actually walking in my purpose. And as I've walked in my purpose, I've seen this growth that I never expected. You know, I started with children's ministry, and and I heard of this other issue where people were not really connecting with Christian authors and speakers in the way that they wanted to. And so, we launched a podcast that was just supposed to be a side gig. But then there was this leap of faith that I took, and reaching out to podcast stations because they were looking for people. They were looking for something different. And that's how I started walking in this journey. But also at the same time, I see how it's connected to everything else that I'm doing. For me, I feel like my true purpose is in empowerment. I'm just doing it in different ways. And my purpose is more so spiritual empowerment, whereas other people may do business empowerment. But I do feel like if you just at least walk in that purpose, you'll find a certain level of joy. But it's not only in finding like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. In the first part of our summit, we're going to talk about getting past those obstacles that are holding you back, like fear or not feeling like you have the resources. But you also need the right strategies in place so you can walk successfully. You can't say, this is God gave me this purpose and be all over the place. There has to be a sense of order. Shaterial, what do you have to say to that?
I completely agree. The word says that the steps of a righteous man are ordered. And I want to get back to something that you guys talked about, like purpose. And one of the things I think is that people tend to overthink their purpose. I had a conversation with someone just yesterday. And one of the things they asked is like, I really don't know what I should be doing. And I said, okay, what I would like for you to do is go to 4 or 5 of your closest friends or people that will be honest with you.
Yeah.
And ask them, what are some of the things that I do really well? What are some of the things that I have challenges? I said, more often than not, we are already walking in our purpose or using our gifts, I should say. But it comes so naturally to us that we overlook it. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times people around you, they see it and you may not be able to see. In terms of the summit and the things that we're offering, the skill sets, Jacqui, and the things that they're going to learn, it's for anyone. You don't necessarily have to be an entrepreneur. Everybody's not called to be an entrepreneur, and that's perfectly okay. But the goal for all of us is while we're here on this earth, is to serve God and walk into our purpose. Shika and I talk about this all the time. We literally want to die empty. Lord, use everything that you have deposited into us. And that's our ultimate goal. But again, I think we overthink what our purpose is, the things that everybody's going to learn in the summit. It can be transferable in so many different areas of your life. But organization is key.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree. And I do often say, what you think, like you say, you're often overthinking it, but your purpose could just be in your story. Maybe you went through something and it is your purpose to share that. Maybe you have a different day job, but your purpose may be to write that book. And Glenn, I know you talk about this in your book about your message. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Well, in this particular book, again, the one I'm showing, it's a Christian fiction book. And when we're talking about message, it's not this is what happens in church and this is what happens in business. But what the overall theme is, God is at work. And as we're going through our day-to-day challenges and we're trying to figure it out, he's at work. So I don't beat my audience over the head with the Bible. But I do hope that they find the Lord and his at work as he's impacting these lives and these destinies. So I think it's important that we don't, there are those that are going to stand on the city square and preach from the top of a box. But then there are those who are going to influence one-to-one and have just as much impact. And fortunately, if we are really in tune to what our Lord is telling us and what our role is and what our responsibility is, then the one on top of the box screaming will touch some folks, and those who are gently whispering will also touch folks, and we all come to contribute to the kingdom. So I think we just have to make sure we're doing what we're convicted and what we're instructed to do.
Yeah.
Jacqui, can I add something really quickly,
Sure.
just to what you just said, and also with Glenn? I love the point that he made that ministry is different, and that's the beauty of it, is that how it's different. That's how you're able to reach different people. So I frequent the Dollar Tree quite a bit in my where I live. I love Dollar Tree, and there's this lady there that she works there, and she is a character. When I tell you, she have everybody in there laughing because she's a storyteller, and she's just being herself, but she doesn't realize that that's really her gift. So I was there yesterday, in fact, and she said that she was coming up on the anniversary of being clean 21 years from heroin addiction. Her husband died from an overdose of heroin, and she was clean 21 years. And I was just listening to her story. And I said, you need to share your story. Now she's bringing up my items and everything. A ton of people in there. Her story was just so powerful, because that's a hard monkey to get off your back. You know what I'm saying? Just drugs, but heroin is really hard having to kick. And I was just telling her, I said, have you considered, I said, people need to hear your story. Have you considered either writing a book or just speaking about it? And she said, it's funny that you say that. She said, somebody reached out to me, and I think it was a pastor, and she said, they want me to speak. Wow. I said, you never know where God will call you to be. I said, because that type of situation, people need to hear from people like you. They don't need to hear from perfect people or people that haven't went through anything. Somebody's life could be set free. It was just really powerful, just her whole testimony, because she was just sharing it with me. And again, going back to what we were talking about, your purpose, walking in it, and sometimes we overthink it. So that may be what she's supposed to do. Like you were saying, Jacqui, share her story.
Yeah, absolutely. And you gave her the confirmation. You were brave enough to say, girl, go share that story. Some people tell you to hide that, but you can, when you see the city on the hill, you see this lights, right? And that's the way that we're supposed to be. And Masheka, I know for you, when you talked about your day job with BrightSkies, how were you able to transition to start Hustle to Business University? Because that was it easy for you to transition into that, or I'm looking at her expression, but because some people feel like, okay, I know I'm supposed to do something else, but how am I going to do that?
So I think for me, we have to think about when people start talking about multiple streams. We have to start thinking about, a lot of times we get into hustle, pull, try to make things happen. And so I'm at a point now where I'm trying to flow through it, because I believe that's why God put us here. And that's how I can be the highest expression of who God created me to be. Now, that sounds like I'm not answering the question, but let me just go back a little bit. So with BrightSkies, a lot of the clients that I already have are real estate investors. Because I'm a real estate investor, a lot of them were like, well, what do you do for yourself? And so that's how that niche became available. So with BrightSkies Business Services, because I'm working with business owners, I already know what their issues are. When they're 3, 5, 10 years in, I know what their issues are. So if I know what their big pressing issues are 5, 10 years in, then if you can catch them on the front end, you can save some trouble down the road. So even though it seems like there are 3 different businesses, they're all related.
Yeah.
There are a lot of attention gets brought to BrightSkies Business Services because I am doing hustle to business.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of attention gets brought to hustle to business because I'm doing BrightSkies Business Services. So if you're not ready to work with one, you may be ready to work with the other. So I think it's about, for me, not trying to do 500 different things, but do stuff that builds, relates, and complement each other, so you can kind of flow through life instead of grasping and pulling. And I know Shaterial is thinking, laughing at this, because I actually talked to her about this yesterday. She was like, pushing through. And I'm like, do you think God means for us to push through? Or do you think God means for us to flow through this life? So I know I did a lot of talking to answer your question, but
I think you brought up something very important. It is about focusing in on those pain points. And that's kind of one of the reasons why we are having this summit, is because as people are finding their purpose or trying to walk in their purpose, or they may be part of the way in the purpose and they don't really have the strategies, you know, we're hitting on those pain points. You know, maybe it is, okay, what is my exact message? You know, what resources do I need to continue help building? You know, I know what I'm, like I said before, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm still afraid. Glenn, can you speak to that a little bit more about the pain points?
Yes, the pain points, pretty much you have to be aware that there's going to be discomfort. I mean, there's going to be pain. You know, there's going to be struggle. You know, the idea, I saw a cartoon, a static cartoon, a picture, long time ago, and it was talking about a duck, how it just sort of sits on the water and just sort of bobs and looks just like, yeah, I have it all under control, life is good. And underneath, they're just paddling like crazy, you know, trying to keep it going. And I think that's a great vision of ministry and entrepreneurship. It's hard, it's messy, you sweat. Ladies, I'm sorry, but sometimes your hair doesn't stay dead. But all of those things are secondary to the outcomes that are achieved as a result of that work. So, you know, I just think, you know, we have to make sure we're keeping our goal in our line of sight as we're moving toward, you know, our day-to-day activities, but definitely our longer-term goals and ambitions.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. That, you know, it may seem like you're paddling really fast underneath the water, but what the outcome would be, I mean, it's much bigger than you expected. And I was just shared with somebody yesterday myself that when I started working in the children's ministry, and I started working with children in Kenya specifically, because they were asking me about Empowerment University for Children, which I'm building right now online. And they were asking, how, you know, how did you start that? What's the story behind it? And I was telling them about how I got involved with another set of ministry and an education program. We all linked up and we were all trying to teach these children in Kenya English so that they can have a better economic outcome. But for me, I saw it as something really small until one of the children, Brian, wrote and said, Miss Jacqui, CCE is not only helping me, but it's helping the whole village. And what was happening was this child, whatever they were learning as they were writing their articles for our writing program, they were taking it back to the villages and sharing it with other people. The impact was much greater. And it was like, my mind was blown. And that's kind of what I see with the things that we're doing. All of us have this role in empowerment, but the type of impact that we will have long-term, we may never truly know how extensive it is, but it is your goal to at least start. Maybe you'll get to see some of it, you know, see how you're impacting people's lives. You never know. I think about people like Billy Graham, you know, who was the person that came to him, you know, and introduced him to the word of God, made his life completely. And look how many people he reached, millions of people. That's why it's important for me that people are walking in their purpose. And that's why it's important to me that they are knocking those obstacles out the way, that's holding them back, because you have something important to do. And I think, Shaterial, you said maybe it's not for you to necessarily to be in entrepreneurship, but maybe it's ministry. Maybe it is writing a book. Maybe it is speaking, but whatever it may be, you need to do it because your light needs to shine, because it needs to shine on others so they can shine. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do want to say something else, if you don't mind, Jacqui.
Sure.
Is that I attended a brunch, was invited to speak at a brunch of women business owners and young ladies that doing phenomenal things. And as we went around and everyone introduced themselves and what gave their name and what their job, what their business was, I noticed that each one of them had like 5, 6, and 7 different things that they were doing. And I think that there's this push on social media around maybe our peers and stuff to hustle and have all these different, and the 7 streams of income. You see that popping up a lot on social media. And what I tell folks is that I think this is damaging and actually a hindrance to us, because you cannot be good at 7 different things. You understand what I'm saying? And let me back up. Let me preface this, because I don't want anyone to get this message and the wording comes out wrong. You need to perfect or make sure one of those streams of income is you're getting a return on investment, you're getting money, you're being able to pay yourself, and this, that, and the third. Then you start with these other streams of income. And thus, hustle to business. We're trying to get people out of that mindset. You got to have actual businesses that are thriving. And then I love Dr. Miles Monroe. I study him quite a bit. One of the things that he said is that, in one of the sermons that he was speaking on, he said, initially, God, he knew he loved music. So he started out and he felt led by the Spirit to start a group, and they start singing because they wanted to lead people to God. So he said it started in his apartment. About 5 or 6 of his friends, they were just playing music. And then as a result, they start inviting people to the apartment. They outgrew the apartment. Then God was like, okay, y'all go over here and start playing in this park. Start playing music in the park. And then people start coming in droves and droves. And the next thing you knew, God gave them a space. And he just kept elevating them. Now, let me say this. What he did is that he focused on what he was called to do. And as a result, God started adding it. He said, do you know that little bitty music business, that ministry that was birthed out of my apartment is now a multi-million-dollar business? And God started adding all of these other different streams of income. I didn't have to do all that because he brought it to me. Because a lot of times we might be doing something, or God may have given us a vision about something, but we're doing it too soon, or it's not time. So I think to your audience, more than anything, I will encourage them is that stop focusing on 20 different things. Focus on one thing that you've been called to do and watch God and see what he'll do.
Yeah. May I say about that as well? And that's kind of why I was like, things building on each other so that you can get some flow through it. Yes. But I think sometimes too, we have to be careful with gifts. And let me tell you what I mean by that. I remember in 2002 at church, we were doing the purpose-driven life. And I remember being up at night digging for my purpose. I was just like, I ain't found my purpose yet. And I'm looking here, yonder, and everywhere for my purpose. And sometimes we have to go deep, because a lot of times when we feel like we have so many gifts, sometimes we start doing a little bit of everything. And I always say, when it comes to this, less is more. Less really is more. And we start doing so many things. And a lot of times when it comes to purpose and gifts, it's a journey of discovery through God. A lot of times you're not going to find it looking here, there, yonder, everywhere. You know, usually it's a discovery. And then, like Shaterial said, God just keeps building on it and building on it. So, for example, say if you have 3 or 4 gifts that you have clearly identified, maybe it's not time to do all 3, 4 of them at the same time. So maybe you, like, for example, an entertainer, they may start on a singing career. Because that singing career got them in the door, then it opens up to acting. And then maybe that acting opens up to a production company. And it just keeps flowing like that.
Right.
But trying to do something with all your gifts at one time, sometimes we get led astray by that.
Wow.
And that's when I feel like we really have to get quiet and discover through God, what is the right thing for me right now? And because it's all going to lead to our purpose. It's all going to lead to it. But trying to do 10 things at one time, like Shaterial said, is just going to leave you frustrated. And a lot of times, you know what we do? We get mad at God when things don't work out. The stuff that we get mad at God.
He didn't tell us to do all that.
Right. Well, like Pastor used to say, some will call and some just went. But you know, we get mad when things don't work out because we took it up on ourselves and God ain't asked us to do all that.
You know, I like to grab to the scripture, you know, be still and know that I'm God.
Yes.
Right. He didn't say stay still. He said be still. Right. So to your point, you know, understand, get your marching orders. Now I'm ready to put you to work, you know. And there's countless examples, but that's the one that really touched me as you were making those points, Masheka. So I totally agree with you. We're on the same team on that one, no doubt.
Yeah, it's so many great points that were made today. First of all, I love the fact when we talk about purpose, sometimes your purpose is in your story. Sometimes your purpose is in the things that you're doing already. That your friends seeing you, your family seeing you, but maybe you don't see it in yourself. And I absolutely love that. The other thing we talked about is order. You know, you can't just say, okay, now this is my purpose. There is an order to it. And I love this last point Masheka made about flowing through. You can't be all over the place. You really have to bring everything together so that it's in order. You don't want people to see a mess. What you want them to see is somebody well put together who knows what they're talking about, know what they're doing, and can actually provide the services that they're talking about. But you can't do that without order. But as we wrap up, I definitely want to get a final word from all 3 of you all. Glenn, I'll start with you. What is it that you think everybody needs to take away from this?
I'm going to do something and kind of pat myself on the back a little bit. So ladies, pardon me. I think that what we want to be able to take away from our time together, and ladies, I want to emphasize, I have really enjoyed being on this panel with you. Jacqui, thank you so much for the invitation. But I'm going to go to my book, A Word from the Voice. And really the premise of the book, and I'm not going to sell the book right here, but it talks about someone looking for wisdom, a young man looking for wisdom. You know, and wisdom isn't something you find in a book. It may reveal itself, but I think that if we are looking for wisdom, we look at the goal, not all the little bitty steps we have to take. You know, we get perspective, but we also get benefits. We get blessings. I can't see somebody helping me if my head is down looking at the next step. And I think you ladies did great jobs of showing examples of how you used a broader lens, being able to look up maybe from the hilltop to get perspective for your success. So again, thank you for letting me join you. But I think I was able to take away a few things from both of you that I'm gonna put in my basket, and I appreciate you sharing.
Shaterial?
For me, I think, again, finding out what your purpose is, and that your gifts are not, don't let anyone pimp your gifts. God deposited into you for a reason, and you will be led to do some things for free, led by the Spirit, and then other things you need to charge. But again, find your purpose, what you're called to do, and just trust and believe that God will send and ask Him to align you with the right people to help the vision come true, because ultimately the goal is to for Him to get the glory.
Yeah. Masheka?
I think probably the biggest thing, there is a African proverb that says, by yourself, you'll go fast. With many, you'll go far. Really open yourself up to receive help, because this is a journey like no other. It is going to expose your insecurities, your weaknesses, your strengths. And not only do you have to deal with that on an emotional level, you have to deal with it on a spiritual level. So get help as fast as you can. Don't martyr yourself, letting yourself go down trying to hold this up.
Yeah.
Just like God gave you that talent to help people, he's giving someone else a talent to solve your problem. So, you know, engage your network. Get as much help as you can, because you will be surprised when you are working, how many people are in there how many people will be willing to get in there with you because they see you working.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we leave, I want people to be able to connect with you on an individual basis. Glenn, how can people connect with you via social media?
Glenn W. Hunter. Glenn with 2 N's, W. Hunter. I was an early adopter of social media, so I was able to get that for many of my outlets. So Instagram, Glenn W. Hunter. Twitter, Glenn W. Hunter. My business is Hunter and Beyond. So my website is www.hunterandbeyond LLC. The word and, not an ampersand, but the actual word, Hunter and Beyond LLC. You'll be able to see not just how to reach me, but a lot of the blogging that I do. I give a lot of business content out, how to grow your business, how to survive this crazy entrepreneurial lifestyle. And these are things, to Shaterial's point, you give some stuff away. And that's me contributing because, man, there's something about seeing someone that you influence go across the finish line, even if it's in front of you.
Amen. Shaterial?
I can be reached by, my website is www.coachstarnes.com. And then on social media, Starnes Group for both Instagram as well as Facebook. And I could be reached, we could be reached, our group that Masheka and I have together, Hustle to Business University. Again, that's Hustle to Business University, and that is on Facebook. So you can definitely join that group as well. And we give information about entrepreneurs and helping them resources through this journey. And financial literacy coach, I teach business credit and personal finance as well.
And Masheka?
So you can reach me, Masheka Turner. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. The name of my business is BrightSkies Business Services. It's brightskiesservices.com. And of course, Hustle to Business University, the Facebook group. And we also have a YouTube page that we just started. So we will also be stretching that out across all platforms, Hustle to Business University. And thank you so much for having me today.
Yes, Jacqui.
Absolutely. And people, if you want more of this, you have to come to our summit, Level Up Launching to Your Purpose. We're going to be talking about strategies, no matter what part you're in, you know, where you are as you're walking in your purpose. We're going to be talking about some of the strategies that you can implement in your life. If you're struggling to walk in your purpose, if you're afraid, you don't feel like you have the resources, come to the first part, because we have something for you. We have some incredible speakers, including the 3 that you heard today. Thank you all so much for being a part of this. Audience, you should have walked away with a wealth of knowledge. And get more at the summit. Level Up, launching to your purpose. Until next time, God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.